Hey everybody, it's Mallory, your host of The Stare Down. I know it's been a little bit, but I've got some good things coming your way today. So I hope you're ready. And if you're not, it's okay, because now you've got some time to sit back, relax, grab a drink or two, and listen to The Stare Down. Okay, so before we jump into today's sports update, I want to give a little bit of a life update. If you follow the Alabama Take, or if you follow me on social media, and by me, I mean my personal accounts, then you will know that a few weeks ago, it was announced that I was apparently nominated and then chosen to be the Outstanding Young Alumni for Ole Miss for 2024 by the Alumni Association. And to say that I am still in complete shock is an understatement. I have not been able to put what it means into words fully. Every time I type something, I'm like, yeah, that sounds good. And I'll hit send or post or whatever. And it still feels so inadequate when I read back on it. Thankfully, I have a few more weeks before we go to the award ceremony so I can write out my speech. But it's a truly incredible honor. I am so touched that anyone would think of me to nominate and to be chosen as a representative of such an amazing university. And I can't wait to continue to carry that torch. So, yeah, I hope that everyone gets to celebrate with me along with that. The other thing, and I apologize because I'm probably going to cry through this, the same day I found out that I had been chosen for that insanely incredible honor, I found out that I have a genetic mutation called BRCA2. It's BRCA2. And basically what it means is that my body has a mutation within it that will cause me to have a higher chance to develop breast cancer or ovarian cancer over my lifetime. And so when you take that into account to all of the other things that I've endured, all of the chemo, everything else, it's not great. And the way I found it was by total accident. I agreed to participate in a study for women who had never had breast or ovarian cancer. And so I gave a DNA sample and it came back that I have one of the mutations. With that has come some insanely difficult choices, one of which I will be taking care of this coming week. And I will be having a prophylactic double mastectomy with reconstruction. So all of that to say, I'm basically going to have a preventative double mastectomy, and then we will put expanders in so that I can have implants. And I'm so sorry, but I don't know how else to be except completely real. And it's hard and it's frustrating. And I am mad at my body and I am mad at the world because this is not fair that I'm having to deal with this again. And at the same time, another thing that is true is that I am so glad that I was able to find this out before it did turn into breast cancer or ovarian cancer, and I can do something about it. So I say all of that to say, I hope you all understand why I've kind of taken a break from this. Don't worry, sports have still been there, and sports have still been an incredible place for me to find strength and humor and humility and beauty in everything that is life. But it is something that I'm dealing with. And so I have, like I said, made the decision to have a prophylactic double mastectomy this coming week. So I've been preparing for that, both mentally and physically, getting things ready at our house so that it's easiest on both me and also my caregivers, because my caregivers include my husband, Cody, who is so insanely strong and an incredibly amazing partner. My mom, who has cried with me and has said she plans to be here as much as I allow her to be. My dad, who I know this can't be easy for him either, especially when he and my stepmom are going through life changes of their own, including my little brother starting Ole Miss in the fall as a junior, which is insane because we're not that old, but I guess we are. All of my friends, all of my extended family, it's been a thing. So I've taken a while off to get through that, to process all of that, and to come to this place where I am now, which is I am strong and I am scared. I am taking control, and I also understand I have no control. And that's a very, very vulnerable position to be in. I know now that I am more of a woman than I was 6 months ago, because I have been able to take this decision and make it my own and decide what's best for me physically, decide what's best for my future, for my family, and wrap that up into a decision. And so I'm here, I'm being vulnerable. And that's honestly the whole reason why I started this whole podcast, because I've said it a million times, and I'll probably say it a million more. You never know what someone's going through. And I'm sure there are a lot of you that are probably listening that have no idea, but now you know. And so just use it as another example as to why you should provide some grace to those around you, because you just don't know. So you'll probably also have a little bit of a hiatus from me for the next, I'd say probably 2 weeks as I recover. I believe I should be able to type, so I've ordered an awesome keyboard for my iPad. So while I watch the Olympics, which we're totally going to get into here in a minute, I'm going to be typing some columns for the AlabamaTake.com website to talk about the Olympics and sports from the female perspective, since I don't know how well I'll be able to talk or if I'll even be in a place to talk. But the good thing about typing is you can edit. So go there and look for a few takes over the next few weeks. Okay. On that note, let's take a little bit of a break, and then we'll come back and jump into all of the sports that I want to talk about. All right, so welcome back. If you're like me, you went and probably got a beverage. In my case, I got some bubbly water, because nothing makes me feel better than bubbly water and hydrating after I've cried. So now that I've hydrated, I feel like an Olympic athlete. I feel like I'm elite. I'm ready to go. Y'all, I'm really not. If you've watched any of the Olympics, it's been so insanely cool how impressive and athletic they are. I am here for it. I love it. So jumping right on into it, let's start with the opening ceremonies. So I know that there was a little bit of a controversy along with those, but I loved them. From the Steven Spielberg opening segue into it all, y'all, could they have picked anyone better? That was like the last person I ever would have thought of. I truly would never have thought of him. But one of the things that I just absolutely loved was the way that they pulled Steven into it, because the entire opening ceremonies ended up being an artistic, almost movie-like journey. And so they had the masked horse rider that went through the entire thing, who ended up being basically the goddess of the Seine River. However you say that. I'm going with Seine. I don't know. That's probably so wrong. I apologize. That's one of the things I haven't looked up this weekend. But you have the masked rider. She is supposed to be the goddess of the river, which was so cool. You had the headless Marie Antoinette with the rock opera. You had the feast of Bacchus, the Bacchanal feast, if we should say. And this is one of the things I did want to talk about today. I know that there are people out there who say that it was a mockery of the Last Supper. And to that, I have to say, first and foremost, the Last Supper was a painting by Da Vinci. It was an artistic take on an event that was written by second, third hand accounts. It was also based upon the Bacchanal lore. Bacchus, if you think of Bacchus, and this is where I think of Bacchus, because growing up in the South, Bacchus is a huge parade in New Orleans and Mardi Gras. And so, it's about revelry, it's about fun, it's about wine and food and just a good celebration. And so I even think, whatever your religion is, if you look at the Last Supper, Jesus throughout his entire history dined and hung out with those who were not straight. They were not the cleanest. They were full of debauchery and sins. And so even if it was to depict that, I think if you take a look at true Christianity, it's that. It was a fun take on the fact that the Olympics are a place where you can come and be who you are and celebrate your accomplishments. But it wasn't that. It was the Feast of Bacchus, and obviously the Olympics were founded in Greece, and so he was a Greek god, and here we go. Anyway, phenomenal. I absolutely loved Lady Gaga. I love the whole Moulin Rouge aspect of that, the pink and the black and the just very sexy ooh la la of it. I love the library scene. I loved the City of Love aspect being pulled in. The bright colors, the neon. It was gorgeous. But then you get to my second favorite part. It was my favorite part for a very, very long time. But Beyonce, my girl, and she played my favorite song off of her entire album, Cowboy Carter, Ya Ya, because we're snapping. We're clapping. It was beautiful, y'all. So cool. So cool. You got to see all of the athletes. You have 500 plus U.S. athletes. You couldn't have done a better job with that. So shout out to NBC for that. Great. But then you had Celine. And my goodness, the tears that flowed from that. The woman has a disease that has almost debilitated her and has in certain moments. And for her to be so strong and to stand up on a world stage and deliver that performance, just chilling, absolutely chilling. And then from the American aspect of it, NBC, they hired Kelly Clarkson and Peyton Manning to sit alongside Mike Tirico and commentate. And you guys, they did such a great job. I feel like I personally would have probably loved a little bit more commentary, but they did a really good job of allowing the artistic elements to shine through. Peyton with his wristband, oh my gosh, how funny was that? Kelly tearing up and not being able to speak truly after Celine's performance. To me, that was the most humanized opening ceremonies I've ever seen, and I will always go back and watch aspects of it because of the emotions that it evoked during certain points. I also love the fact that the athletes came in on boats and they weren't walking around a track. It was just so cool, and it was in the rain. And you guys, that was so cool for me because they're going to be out and competing in their sports in the rain and all of those things, all the elements. It just, it couldn't have been better. It couldn't have been better. So love the Olympics, love the opening ceremonies. So now let's get into some competition. So today on Sunday, the U.S. women's national team just defeated Germany in soccer 4-1. And what an incredible match that was. The score may sound really close in 4-1, but I can promise you it was not. My girl, Mal Swanson, she's out there killing it. So for the second match in a row, she scored. Trinity Rodman is making a name for herself. It was just a really, really good, solid performance today. They won their first match 3-0. That was I feel like to be expected. It was Zambia. It was over an opponent that wasn't, probably as strong as the Germans were, but to do 4-1 over the Germans was pretty impressive. So I'm excited to watch these ladies. They seem to be doing really well under their new coach. She is a force to be reckoned with. Emma, man, y'all, I really like her. She kind of reminds me a little bit of Coach Boone from Remember the Titans. Like, I have a feeling that her training camps are intense, but she would be so cool to play for. So I really want to keep watching them. Also, one of the things that happened today was the U.S. women's gymnastics team went into the qualifying round. And Simone hurt herself a little bit, but she still qualified for both the all-around individual title. The team qualified for the team event. But I'm interested to see kind of what's happening with her ankle, lower leg, because that's something to watch. And I think it ties back into one of the other things I wanted to talk about today, which was her series on Netflix, Simone. It's a kind of like an autobiographical look into her life. Obviously, they follow her around and they do all of that. But one of the things they talked about was the Kerri Scruggs 1996 Atlanta Olympics performance, where Kerri went and jumped and did her vault and probably shouldn't have, if we're being completely honest. She probably shouldn't have. That probably injured her worse than if she had just left it. But she did it and she won gold and she was national hero, right? But what did that do to her mentally? And I think as we look at that and then we look at everything else that U.S. gymnastics athletes have been through with that horrible, horrible monster who posed as their team physician, a physician who takes the oath of basically doing no harm, and he did all of the harm. I just don't even feel like naming his name. You all know who he is. But when you look at what those athletes and those ladies went through to now be here and now to be kind of in a little bit of a similar position, Simone obviously had her issues in Tokyo with mental health and she pulled out, and there were so many people who came after her saying, that's not the GOAT. That's not the leader of your team. That's not who we should be idolizing. And I'll actually argue the opposite. Simone chose to put on her own oxygen mask before putting the oxygen mask of others on them. She took care of herself first. And that's what you have to do to be a leader. If you don't take care of yourself, you can never take care of anybody else. So I applaud her for that. But I am interested to see kind of what this new ankle injury that happened today turns out to be and how it dampens it. I mean, she was able to finish the competition today, so we'll see. Also, we've had a lot of drama in the pool, which I love. I love the Australian versus the Americans narrative. What I do not love, and shout out to my cousin Emily and her husband Aaron, because Aaron nailed it. Apparently, as Americans, we take cowbells and we ring them. And y'all, that makes us the Mississippi State of the Olympics. And no, just absolutely no. But beyond that, obviously, I'm here for America. But I am loving all of the swimming. I'm loving the handball. I watched handball. One of the cool things too I watched was some kind of like kayak slalom, I think is what it was called. And you guys, they're in like these rapids going down the river in like this one man kayak or one person kayak, and they're having to dodge all of these gates and things. And like, if their ponytail hits it, it's a whole, like it's a deduction, which is basically time added onto their run. It is so cool. We also watched the women's judo finals today, which was awesome. And I was a little shocked because it felt a little anticlimactic, but basically like the lady who won, she got the other lady down once. And so she got a point, and then they were able to basically just kind of grapple it out. And so when time ran out, she was it. She was it. She was the winner. And then that was really cool. But to me, the match that was the most emotional and heartbreaking was for the bronze medal. And it came down to the wire. And the lady who won bronze cried and held the lady who came in fourth, and they just stood there and held each other and cried. And I mean, can you imagine? You're there, you're fourth best in the world, which is nothing to sneeze at, nothing at all to sneeze at, but you're fourth in the world. Maybe if you had done this one move differently, maybe if you had done this other thing differently, maybe if you had taken advantage of this, like, you can second guess all those things. And it's just heartbreaking. Like, it's so heartbreaking. So I say all of that to say I am here for the Olympics. I'm actually kind of, one of the things I'm looking forward to, if I've got to find some positives in surgery, is that I'm going to have a couple of weeks where I can't really do anything except kind of laze around. And so it is all Olympics all the time. Out of office means Olympics only, or outside, meaning outside my house, because you can watch whatever you want outside your house. Otherwise, it's all Olympics all the time here. So I'm very, very excited for that. A couple of other things we'll jump into, and then I will let you all get back to your beautiful Sunday afternoons. If you're like me here in Huntsville, it's nice and cloudy and rainy like it has been for the last few weeks. But speaking of Olympics, I have been watching all of the Netflix things, including Sprint. And Noah Lyles, you guys, I loved watching him. He is so cool. And I text my friend Sierra today during the U.S. men's basketball game of against Serbia, because they were losing at one point pretty early on. And I was like, they better step it up. Otherwise, Noah's little prediction is going to come true, because, you know, he was talking about last year how, why are they called world champions when they win the NBA finals? Like, they just played in the U.S. If you can't go out and beat the world on a global stage, why are you called world champions? Like, track and field athletes, no matter the match, or no matter the race, not the match, but no matter the race or event, for the most part, unless it's nationals or a U.S. only event, they're out here competing against the world every single meet. So, you know, thankfully the U.S. men's basketball team turned it around. They beat Serbia, but I'm here to watch Noah, because if there's one thing I learned about watching him on the series, it's that he can back it up. Man, he may talk a lot and you may not like him, but he can back it up. So super excited to watch that. Sha'Carri, you guys, Sha'Carri, Raven Saunders, I need those two to be like my besties. Like, how awesome are they? Raven could probably pick me up and chuck me a football field away. She is so incredibly strong. She's also an Ole Miss girl, so obviously we're here for that. But Sha'Carri Richardson, I'm loving the fact that she's so herself. She is so herself. Love her or hate her, she doesn't care. She's Sha'Carri. And so I'm also going to be honest, a little bit of weed is what kept her out. Come on, y'all. There are people out here doing way worse things. Like, oh, I don't know. There's an athlete, and I can't remember what country he's from, but he's not even allowed to stay in the Olympic Village because he's been convicted of rape of a 14-year-old in his home country. But he's allowed to come and compete. But Sha'Carri had a little bit of weed in her system, and so she couldn't compete. Like, y'all really? And I understand it's a national level. It's from country to country. Their governing bodies can make up the rules, but that's disgusting. Absolutely freaking disgusting. So I digress. Some of the other things I've been doing this summer, I watched Receiver. It wasn't my favorite. I was really excited after the first episode and the opener where basically Randy Moss kicks Peyton off of the intro. And then the story became a little dull. I love George Kittle. I love everybody on the show. All of the receivers are absolutely insanely good. But I don't know. It just felt a little underwhelming compared to quarterback. I don't know. Like, were they trying to be a little more politically correct? I don't know. But it fell flat for me personally. It just fell a little flat. And I can't quite put my finger on why, but it just did. Obviously, as I stated, I've watched the Simone Biles thing on Netflix, which is so good. Y'all, she's so adorable. She's so stinking cute. All of the gymnasts are. And not only are they cute, they're powerhouses. Like, I would never want any of them to kick me because they're so insanely powerful. It's just unbelievable. So watch that. And then the current thing I'm watching, and I hate to admit it, it's the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders. I don't even know. I'm watching it as more of like a train wreck thing. Good for them. All I can say is what they do is also very incredibly athletic. It's very taxing mentally. They are some intelligent women. I mean, you have an orthodontist, you have nurses, you have women who are so smart and they're going and they're kicking so high that like my glutes and hammies are screaming as they watch it. But it's just still a little weird because, well, her makeup doesn't look right. Well, we need to change her hair color. And I'm like, really? I don't know. I think maybe that's the aspect of it I don't truly agree with. But if you're looking at it from a business perspective, the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders have been the thing that have maintained Dallas continuing to be America's team, quote unquote. They're America's girls. And so they've bought into that aspect. And so from a business perspective, good on them. Good on them. Charlotte Jones, Jerry's daughter. Good for you, girl. You go do your thing. But it's definitely a very interesting show. It's a little cringeworthy at times, especially when they start talking about like real life things, like one of their fathers unfortunately lost his battle to mental illness while she was on her way to a game, and she kept going. And I just, wow, y'all, like that's some strength right there. Like that's a mental fortitude that I don't know that I have, but she did. And that was her reason why she needed to keep going. And so, yeah, it's just a very interesting look on all of that. So I don't know if you've got some thoughts on it, hit me up, let me know. The biggest news too, though, is we're within 5 weeks of football being back. And when I say football being back, I mean SEC college football. And of course, EA Sports 2024 college football is out now. I do not have it. That is a travesty, I know. But don't worry, I will get it. I will be playing. And as soon as I do, I'll drop my username so everyone can play with me. I plan on whooping some ass with Jackson Dart and all my Rebels. I'll even throw it back to, maybe some early 2000s with some Deuce and Row once I get into it. But yeah, I'm here for college football. I think it's going to be so fun. I cannot wait. I am so pumped. But I'm also cautiously optimistic. I am an Ole Miss fan, guys. Like, I remember us being on the cover of Sports Illustrated. And we were ranked 4th in the nation, and we went into South Carolina on a Thursday and just got spanked. Jevin Sneed. So bad. It was so bad. So, yeah, we're going to take it one game at a time. Yeah, I am going to be honest. I'm a little emotionally spent at this point. I have probably started and stopped recording this episode about 8 times total over this weekend. And obviously, I hope you guys understand why from the very beginning and from my kind of opening statement. But I'm here to say this. Sports are a unifier. Sports are a safe space. Sports are a happy place. They're a sad place. They're a place where you can come and forget all of your ails and your worries. They're a place where you can be reminded of all of your ails and your worries. But at the end of the day, sports are the great unifier. And so as we go through these next few weeks with the most global of unifiers in the Olympics, just remember, no matter what's happening in your little corner of the world, whether your favorite person is running for president or not, whether your favorite candidate has dropped out and someone else is running, whether your neighbor has had a bad day, whether work isn't going well, or someone got a promotion that you felt like should have been yours, it doesn't matter, because all that matters is we're here and we're alive. And we're allowed to feel those emotions. And you have spaces to feel those. And so grant yourself some grace. Grant the world around you some grace. And cheer for the USA, because, damn it, we're the best when it comes to the sports. Y'all, we're the best. Also, throwing this out there, even though it's 4 years ahead, if anybody's got a hook up on the flag football for LA 28, let me know, because I want to go. The Olympics are a bucket list item for me. Seriously, though, like, truly give yourself some grace. Give yourself some time to breathe. Give yourself some space to breathe. And I promise you it's all going to be okay. And at the end of the day, we can all sit back, relax, grab a drink or two, talk about sports, talk about life, laugh, cry, and know that the beauty of it all is the fact that we get to live. As always, go check out thealabamatake.com. You can find us on Instagram at the Stare Down Pod, I believe. You can email us at, no, that's our Twitter account, is at the Stare Down Pod. Our Instagram is at the Stare Down _podcast. Our email is thestaredownpod@gmail.com. Our Facebook is as one word, Stare Down as its own word. Leave us some feedback. Share it with your friends. Give your friends a hug. Give your family a hug. And know that my rebels are out for blood, and so are my USA athletes. Have a wonderful week. And I'll see you back at some point. Hotty toddy, go USA. Bye.